And now, everyone, please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Frank Cordero.
Hey! Hello, everyone. Welcome. I want to thank you all who are here with us on campus, and to those who are joining us online.
Oh, God.
Awesome. Great party. This is a party, by the way. These guys are awesome. First of all, let me get my introduction. I'm Frank Cordero here. Some of you have had me as course director for model creation. I see some familiar faces here. Yeah? Cool. And for those who are welcome, rest of the campus. Some of them I've seen you on campus, and some people I haven't. Today's titled panel is going to be called The Best Visual Effects Are the Ones You Don't Notice. And I want you to put together your hands and help me welcome our panelists. Culley Bunker, Culley Bunker is owner and senior artist and director at Skulley Effects, and he is a 2011 Full Sail Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome back. His credits are amazing. I mean, he's worked on titles like The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 1 and 2, Amazing Spider-Man, Donnie Darko, Minority Report, holy smokes. And then some music videos you might be familiar with, big one with Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, and Black Eyed Peas, just to name a few. So he's been around the block. This guy's got a lot of info. You should pull him aside if you see him in the hallway. Well, maybe not. He may not want to be gang tackled. Okay.
I could be
Next is Jack Geckler.
This guy, yeah. I'll take it.
Currently now you're working with Electronic Arts. Is that correct?
I am.
So even this is not.
That's not up to date.
That's not up to date. But prior to that, he was working on, I guess, as a crowd supervisor and senior animator and previs artist at PIXOMONDO, one of the studios that makes one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Game of Thrones. Holy smokes. Not to mention, he's also worked on some really amazing films. His career stretches back to freaking Apocalypto, 2012, holy smoke, disaster movie, amazing. How to Train Your Dragon, 1 and 2, so amazing work there as well. Jalil, Sadool, woo, welcome. Jalil is currently creative director at Steamroller Studios. His credits in the past, prior to that, are animation lead in Avatar, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He was the animation lead on the big Believability. You remember that in How to Train Your Dragon 2? It's pretty amazing, by the way. I love that. That's one of. And then, obviously, Rise of the Guardians. He's also worked on films like Narnia and The Water Horse. Okay, terrific. Whew, good man, yeah. Awesome. You kidding? And finally, I want to introduce our 2015 Hall of Fame inductee. He's a director, he's a producer, he's done facial lead for Avatar, King Kong, for Weta Digital. He was a modeler in Hellboy, worked on Adventures of Tintin. I want you to welcome Jeff Unay. Whew. All right, I got those credits out of the way. Now, guys, they wanted to talk about this panel being the best effects are the ones you don't notice. I don't know personally. I've been involved with loving film since I was a kid, so I love to notice the special effects personally, and I went to the movies. I actually don't go to the movies now unless I know I'm going to see, or at least pay for a big budget screen. I'm not going to see a small relationship movie in the theater. The only time I'm paying big money is to see the work that you guys are doing. That's the time I'm going to go and pony up for the 3D glasses. That's the time I'm going to pony up for the big IMAX screenings. It's because of the work you guys do. So they're not so invisible. But within the context of that umbrella of what we mean by invisible effects, or the ones that you don't notice, I'd love to get your take on what that means to you these days. Because when I was growing up with effects, as they went from analog to digital, that meant something a little different. And they might mean something different now, and I'd love to hear your take on what that means. So best effects are the ones that we don't notice.
I find in my business that those are the most effects that I do. We do the black art of beauty at my studio, where every star you see in any movie, something's happened. They've got a pimple. They ate too much that week. You know, it can be anything. So they come to us, and we do the invisible beauty fixes. We take a few 10 pounds off, or you know, skinny a face, take the bags out from too much drinking the night before. You know, it's a product, so Hollywood wants to sell you a product, and their image is a product. So one of the biggest, I would say, invisible effects that you see is beauty.
Wow.
To me, it's like a combination of two things. For me, it's continuity to what's happening with what they've shot, and my job is to integrate something in the computer realm that matches what's on there, and that's sort of been a legacy thing for me since I've been in it. One example would have been in Force Awakens. So many shots of BB-8 are real, and when I started there, it was insane to me to see like a real practical robot and a puppet and all these shots. So then all of a sudden, it was this added pressure when I got handed a shot that was a CG BB-8. They're like, you need to put him in the scene, and I'm like, well, shit, I have to match the puppeteer now. And all of a sudden, it's this added pressure of now I have to mix and match. So as you as the viewer, I keep you guessing. And that's kind of where it is for me. Like, I want to keep you guessing the entire movie. I'm like, oh, was that a CG BB-8? Was that a real BB-8? Are they all real BB-8s? I mean, if we're doing our jobs right, you think that entire thing's real. Yeah.
Terrific. Cool. How about you, Jalil?
I think what the title means, what you just said, you know, it's not quite what's invisible, but what's not distracting, or the effects that doesn't make you go, that's a special effect. Because I go to watch movies to watch monsters, and I know they don't exist. So I enjoy watching movies that has big creatures in it. So I know they're there, they're absolutely visible, but it's really something that doesn't feel believable. And I think believability is what's the key here, is when you make something that you know is not real, how do you treat the audience to feel like this thing is real? And you know, having been in feature animation and visual effects, but you know, even in feature animation, I worked a lot with creatures. How to Train Your Dragon 2. You look at a character like Toothless, who in the first film was a cat, because we knew he was supposed to be feral, mysterious, the creature that Hiccup is slightly scared of. So a cat was the best choice because we wanted people to connect with it, right? Second film, now everybody knows Toothless, everybody knows what he does, and he's now become the best friend, and cats are not usually the best friends, right? So dogs usually are. So the main reference was using a dog, and the reason was because it was believable. The audience can connect with it, and I think that's what's so important. If you can connect with what's on screen, it's not about if it's moving beautifully on screen, it's about connecting with the thing that's on screen. That's what makes it invisible, because you really feel it.
Terrific.
Yeah,
Wanna add to that?
You know, when I was a student, I pretty much just consumed all big blockbuster visual effects films just to try to learn and figure them out. But nowadays, I love the discovery of watching a film and going, what? That was a visual effects shot? You know, I mean, The Revenant. Have you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Who has not seen The Revenant?
I'm sorry.
Please. Oh my God, go please see that movie. You know, Birdman.
You've got kids. When do you do that?
Exactly.
3 of them. Has anyone seen Birdman?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. So these days, you know, to me, the best visual effects are the ones I just don't notice. And there's a real, it kind of goes back to like the efficiency of storytelling, you know, being able to not be big and, I don't know. Yeah, so I love the efficiency of the way some of these films are using visual effects,
Terrific.
like The Revenant and Birdman. Go check those films out. They're awesome.
Excellent. That's awesome. Do you think we've reached a point in our business where what we do as visual effects artists is taken for granted because they've become so invisible? Do Do you feel like in some ways maybe, is that a good thing for our business, or do we still need to kind of remind people that what we do is important? I think it's always shocking to me when if you were to strip out a movie of all the, the effects work, how many green screens, how many blue screens, how many wires, so many things that would just blow the reality of what we do. I don't know. I mean, it's just got to be interesting conversation amongst you guys.
Well, the cost of entry has come down so much that the producers, when they see something happen on set, they're just like, we'll just fix it later, because the cost is less to do it in post than for them to waste crew time to fix that little problem. Or at least I find it a lot of the time.
Sometimes it can be being lazy too.
Yeah, definitely can be
It's like,
lazy.
I gotta go over there. Nah, they'll fix it in post.
No, I think it's interesting you bring this up. I found it fascinating this year. I went to the visual effects bake-off they have in LA for the Oscars, and it's where a bunch of industry people get together. Presenters come up, they present their film, they show what they did, and then the Oscar panel votes on that later to see if it'll be up for the Oscar. And it's amazing. I think the big budget blockbusters have somewhat jaded the industry as far as just saturation of effects. To watch so many people in this, as I was talking, everybody just kind of gets like, But then a movie like Revenant came on, and I was like, I'm like, that bear's all CG. And it's a movie that's not, there's almost nothing in it that's really CG, but this moment. But it's this like 8-minute long camera move.
Hey,
Of a blue guy
Don't spoil it for
attacking-
people that haven't seen it.
No, I want you, honestly, I want the audience to look at that shot now when you see the movie and realize what that is.
Yeah, I know what's gonna happen now. I don't want to watch it anymore.
Well, no, it's
an
awesome.
8-minute
You watch
shot?
Titanic, you'll watch it.
Insane. It's insane.
Can't train bears that well.
But to watch and even to watch the process of how they did that was just ridiculous. And then all of a sudden you saw the audience, everybody kind of even people who there was a couple Academy Award winners there. Everybody kind of just took this backseat to like, my goodness, you know.
And we're not being paid to.
No, I'm not
Talk
being
about
paid at all
everything,
with
just
this movie
FYI.
specifically. I just, as somebody who's been doing it 15 years, to be blown away like that is kind of telling, you know. I mean, because there were so many other movies that were up there. I mean, Ant-Man was up there, Star Wars was up there. All these things, like, it's cool, yeah, it's cool.
Huge,
but I feel
huge in
we've
your
seen
face
it.
effects.
Yeah, but that's the problem. I think we've all seen it. We've seen a lot of it
Yeah.
for so long.
I think you've nailed it. I mean, you're talking a lot about, quantity versus quality, and I think there are so many visual effects films out there, and a lot of times you get a really good one, and then there's like 10, 20 that try to copy the level, but they just can't do it because they're trying to rush it out to make the big bucks that this one big movie made. You go back to Jurassic Park, and it still holds.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then you look at Jurassic Park 2, 3, even Jurassic World, all due respect to the guys that worked on it. Again, there was a lot of trickery in the first one, but it was genius. Lots of dog shots, rain, and they made a lot
of models.
They really thought about it. The models, they've thought about it. Now this is more like, let's just throw it in there, and there's not enough time spent on making these creatures feel believable on screen. And I think that's something we need to, when you go watch a big movie with a lot of monsters, you go, here's another big movie with monsters. Then you watch The Revenant, there's probably a couple creatures in there, and they're all realistic, but they are really the focus is on these animals, the bear. I mean, that's what makes you go, wow, this was amazing. He's just a bear. It probably costs way less than John Carter from Mars. Sorry, did you guys work on that movie? That was terrible.
It's also, it also
I worked on Garfield too, so I'm allowed to say I worked on bad movies.
It also
worked on
comes
some
down
bad
to
movies.
story. It also comes down to story.
Yeah.
You could be there. Some people or some movies are just trying to throw these effects at you to get you to come see it, which people are like, that doesn't really do that for me. But if the visual effects complement the story in a way that makes you, emotionally attached
It's
to
on a
it,
tangent, right? It's part of it.
those become even more seamless.
Yeah, I just to jump in, I noticed that I am looking at the effects when I hate the story. And then if I hate the effects because I don't like the story, it sucks for the effects guys because they're probably by themselves pretty good effects.
Yeah.
But you start to notice the other things that are wrong when story's out. So definitely good point to bring it up. Cool, excellent.
But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was awesome.
I haven't seen it yet.
Terrible movie,
If
but
the
still
effects aren't
love
done right, that'll pull you out of the movie too.
Well, that too. I mean, I'm one of these guys who still to this day, I'll tend to see movies twice, not necessarily in the theater, maybe once in the theater. The first time, I shut down. and it's taken a lot of time to do this, but I shut down because I have to. So I shut down, I go in as like a kid, I watch it the first time, cool. The problem is the second time. The second time I'm usually at home, and then God forbid whoever's sitting next to me. Because then I'm just ripping it apart. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did they do that? Or what, you know, it's just, and I'm looking at everything at this point, but I found I had to shut down at some point. Like I had to pull myself out and be like, I'm just gonna go have fun in a movie. That was cool. You know, that movie's all right. That's kind of how I answer movies nowadays. But then, like to work on Star Wars, which was awesome, and Jeff has worked with JJ a little bit too, is like this integration of live action visual effects made such a difference because it brings you in and it keeps you guessing, which is something movies don't really do anymore, and there's something missing to that, to where he's like, well, we have a creature here, you know what, let's just build a giant puppet and make it real. And then maybe the next shot will be CG, but let's give the audience this moment, because then we don't feel like episode 1, 2, or 3, where it's just all green screen. We want you to feel immersed in the movie, and I think there's something to that. And The Revenant does that really well. Is, you know, you feel immersed, so those moments of CG and VFX, you don't really get it as much because it's just blended so well.
Just to jump in, the trend in general the last couple of years, we've been seeing more films kind of finding that sort of middle ground. Do you think that's going to be on a special case-to-case basis when it comes to budget? Because, you know, as you know, building some of this stuff is expensive. And one of the reasons why we went to CG in the first place was to eliminate having to build, you know, the equivalent. I mean, can you imagine making, what's the movie with Elizabeth Taylor? Cleopatra. Nowadays, or a big budget blockbuster film like that, where they literally built so many of those sets, you know, and so CG was the answer to a problem, but then created new ones, and so now we're like, I'm not buying it. So now we're back to that middle again. Is that the sweet spot? Mad Max did a great job with it as well.
I think it's because these movies are being made by the fans that watch the practical movies, right? These are all the geeks and nerds that used to watch movies in the 80s and 70s and go, I want to go back to the feeling that I used to have. And they're nailing it now because they realize, well, let's go back to where CG was being used properly. That said, I just want to go back to a film that I just saw this weekend because I want to know what you guys think about it, because the whole time this movie was being marketed, I wanted to hate it. And I hated it so much that when I got it on Blu-ray and I was watching it at home, I started halfway through the film because of my daughter. And I'm like, I'm going to watch that with her because it's probably going to be cute. I did not hate it. It was very generic. That was The Good Dinosaur. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer and I wanted to hate it because...
Critics didn't like it.
Really? Because the background was so realistic.
I was like sobbing, man. Like,
you know, but I'm having like an internal struggle with that movie because I wanted to hate it so much because how visually the trailers look like.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I'm like, okay, it's generic. It's very Pixar, which I hate.
Cry?
I did tear up. It was, you know, there was nothing. I knew what was going to happen by the end. I knew exactly what was going to happen, but I can't say I hated it. I still enjoyed it. And I keep thinking about it, so I must have liked it somehow. Even I hate saying it, because it's Pixar. Right?
Wow. That's two DreamWorks people.
We
That's
hate
par
it.
for the course. You
Yeah,
gotta
we
hate
hate
it.
it. Toy Story sucked.
I mean, I cried and I loved it, but I hated it.
Worst Pixar movie, The
Worst
Incredibles.
movie they've ever made at that
The Incredibles. Like Madagascar now. That's good stuff. Shark Tales.
We didn't work on that one.
So tell us about this rivalry that, you know, I know it's off topic, but never mind.
Oh my God. No, I'm kidding. You guys know I'm kidding, right? I love Toy Story.
No, he's
no,
not.
he's not. He's not.
Don't worry. All our parents think we work on Toy Story. So
They
it's all
do, they
good.
do. They think we made How to Train Your
Yes,
Dragon 2.
yes.
My mom thinks I made Avatar.
It's
I mean,
all a one big blend.
the rivalry is it's a very friendly rivalry, especially with Disney and DreamWorks, because we all work, like a lot of people from DreamWorks go to Disney, a lot of people from Disney come to Dream, especially because we're in the same place, like, you know, a few miles away.
Two miles away,
2
3 miles away, yeah.
And Pixar is not too far, you know, either. And most people
Don't backtrack now. That's all right.
What's that? Most people don't leave Pixar to come to DreamWorks because they think we're lesser, but we are much better than them.
I like to think the campus was way better too.
Yeah, the campus was the food. So much better. Movies, well, Who cares about movies anyway?
SoCal.
We're all well
I'm
fed,
laughing
you know.
I need a curse jar up here. Some people know that I could use one. We're trying to restrain myself. But, okay. I love the rivalry, because I would agree, though. I mean, in your assessment, I think it's funny that Pixar, the innovator, the first entry into digital animation, has lagged in the last few years, in my opinion. But they get, usually, core stuff right, story. So it's funny that you're kind of like, I want to hate it, but okay. You know, it's kind of like at that. Yeah, they still are trying to deal with the right stuff. I would say visually, though, DreamWorks is definitely pushing the quality bar
Ahead.
in terms of visuals. And I've said it, and I have no remorse about saying, I think they've definitely visually come amazingly.
I think what
pushed
DreamWorks
our
is
medium.
doing.
I have to admit, I don't like The Good Dinosaur because it beat my movie in a VS award. So
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Thanks. He gets it. I think what DreamWorks is doing right is definitely they are being risky. You know, they're taking these risks, which I think Disney is doing, especially with Paperman. You see what they did with that.
Yes.
It was amazing. And I think these risks is what's I think we need right now in future animation. And I think Pixar is not quite taking enough risks. I think all the you know emotional beats. You know, when you watch a movie, it's not really just about every time a parent needs to die for the audience to connect with it. You know, every time there needs to be, there needs to be the footprint on the, like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm like, this is so Pixar, you know, footprint, you know what's going to happen in the end, he's going to want his footprint, blah, blah, blah.
they go out there, they come back.
They come back, and it's very Pixar, that's why we say it's very Pixar, but it's type of storytelling that works for them, and they've been using it. I think DreamWorks has no good storytelling. They randomly, I mean, we've sat down on stories. You know, where they just go, we'll do this and this. They get lucky sometimes with Hutching Your Dragon. You know, that's to me lucky.
Real talk with Jalil.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not there anymore, but I'd love to go back there someday. So
We
I'm gonna
jumped
be
the
very
shark
careful.
here.
But, you know, now I can see the change because they are listening. The story department is listening now. They'll, you know, we've Panetta 3 and with Larrikins and with Dragons 2. You can see they are listening to us. I mean, Dean is an amazing director. He's really about sitting down, and if you tell him, you know, I don't think this dragon would do this there, he'll go like, absolutely, do that.
Yeah, just so you know, I mean, I remember Dean back in the days when we were making Mulan here in Florida. He actually was a layout artist, and he got promoted to co-director for Lilo and Stitch, which is where that relationship got started with Chris and Dean. And but they always were really good about focusing in on story. There's a version of Lilo and Stitch that I remember that I loved that never made the theater. It was still in drawing, a lot of work in progress real stuff. And it's like, you know, you always hope that they're going to capture that lightning in a bottle, which is story.
Right.
Because that part, I'd forgive some bad CG if the story was as good as it was. But there are times when, you know, Disney sandpaper comes in, I call it, and just kind of wear away the sharper edges just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's like a watered-down version of the story that gets to the theaters. So I do think that, you know, it's a challenge. You know, these are group projects, so to speak.
Have you seen Anomalisa? It's a very raw stop-motion animated film that's adult, with adult themes. You guys, none of you have seen it.
I'm putting it on my list.
It's up for an Oscar.
And I
Come
have
on.
to watch it.
Is it out?
I keep
I didn't even know if it's
I
out.
keep
It's in the
wanting to
theaters.
watch it. Okay.
No, I haven't.
Anyway, I'm promoting that because I did 130 shots on it. So
There you go.
it's up for an Oscar. If you can vote.
Talking about storytelling and Chris and Dean, I mean, the two of them work so well together. I mean, because Chris is the guy that would just come up with ideas. He doesn't really care about putting it together. Wouldn't it be cool to do this? Wouldn't it be cool to do this? He's so good at ideas and good at putting his, jotting down his ideas in drawings. Dean is the guy with structure. You know, he just brings it. He probably will not have the best fun idea, but the two of them together just gave you forbidden friendship. You know, and
I just feel bad that they got
Dragon
split up on the third one.
They split up, but
But it
great-
worked. It still worked
But the
very
great
well.
thing was they would get together. You know, it's like having all the directors in the same spot. They would brainstorm together. They would get together. Dean would always go to Chris and go, "Hey, what do you think of this?" and get his ideas, even though they're not directing it together, but they do brainstorm.
Terrific. That's awesome. So story is going to be important. That's got to be the constant. If you have a great story, your effects are more than likely going to be invisible.
I think that's with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what Jeff's doing now with feature filmmaking, I mean, he's running it like that's core. Whether or not he puts one visual effect in a film or not, story's got to be core to anything. I think that's just
That
a
said, I
realization,
always go that I think story is important, but story is not king. Character is king. So screw Pixar. Good characters is what's gonna make you a great film. You can't have no story. Tarantino is the proof of that. His stories are not very good. Straightforward.
I would
do this.
I would argue
it's
that
about the characters.
marketing is king.
Marketing is
Sorry.
Marketing is king. Okay,
Somebody's
I
at
just
his
gotta own
marketing phase right now, so
that. You can have a good movie that does
Trust me,
terrible.
marketing is king.
and marketing
Independent
king.
filmmaker.
I worked on a movie called The Devil Inside.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the marketing was amazing on that. The trailers that killed it, and that movie made, I think it was the most profitable movie of the last 6 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think they made it for under $500,000.
Oh, there you
Wow.
It was a good movie though.
Thank you.
I haven't seen it.
We did all the finishing effects and color.
Oh,
on it.
that's awesome. Congrats, man.
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
Coming from the amazing work on projects like Avatar and King Kong. By the way, that sequence alone in the battle sequence between King Kong and the dinosaurs, one of my favorites
Oh,
in the
cool.
history of film.
Right
Period. That just like whatever you guys did to get that was just an amazing. I don't know how many minutes that was on the screen, but I just
Yeah.
could not. I will pass Jack Black, pass whatever. I want to just watch that. So I just wanted to tell you in front of everyone.
Oh,
It's
like
amazing,
yeah,
amazing work.
Those What a Digital guys, Joel Lettieri and his crew. Yeah, I learned a lot from those guys. I mean, yeah, the visual effects end and all that stuff was great, but I learned a lot of work ethic and approach to my work, working with guys like Joel Lettieri, where he just is yeah. I mean, you've worked with Joe. I mean, these people do not accept good enough. In fact, working in visual effects, I've never even heard the term good enough. And then later, moving industries and hearing, oh, that's good enough. It was just like, what? I've never heard anybody say that in the workplace. So yeah, I've learned a lot more.
Perfectionist, yeah.
Yeah, work ethic and just approach and a critical eye to the smallest details. All that builds up to great sequences like that, and also the quieter sequences, where they're very subtle. It's a very subtle performance, So
I think Jeff doesn't take enough of the credit. He's a superhero, if you guys know that. But at Weta, he was amazing. The stuff he did on
Don't do this.
I'm gonna have to do
Jalil, what are you doing?
the stuff he's done on Neytiri's face, guys. It was incredible. The stuff for
There was
King
a
Kong.
team. There was a team.
No, it was. Sure, it was.
Of course it was.
Jeff
Of course it
is
was.
such a hard-working guy, and you can tell by his passion and what he wants to do, and he goes for it. And as one little
Jalil's
story,
pretty lazy though.
yes,
Yeah,
There's
we had to crack down on him.
there's a little story about Jeff that
Oh,
I don't know if he's gonna remember that, but when he left, so Jeff, he would build his own little thing, his own shelves, and basically I don't know if you know that, but on Maya you had your own shelf, and he basically throughout the productions he would send these scripts to all his modelers to use, but the source was his computer. So when he left and he shut that down,
I'm sorry.
basically shut down the whole modeling department for a whole day.
That I didn't know.
That's the power of Jeff, and I'm working with a guy right now that
That
had to
sounds
go
terrible.
and figure it out and bring back.
That sounds terrible.
Just to show you how important Jeff was at Weta.
You know the
he
image
shut
you're
down
painting.
Weta one day.
It's like he takes a glance one way and everyone goes.
Yeah.
He looks another way.
Oh,
They
man.
look. No, that's good.
And just so you know, Neytiri's face when it started is completely. I wanted you to talk about that because I did the first shot of Neytiri, like the film, like the one where Neytiri is holding onto the bow. There was no motion capture at that point. We were just keyframing everything, and I did Neytiri, and then I took a break and went to the Banshees for 6-7 months. When I got back to do my second Neytiri shot, she was completely different. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, she was.
Tell me why.
why.
Why you messed up my shot?
I don't know.
Like on my demo reel, I got two Neytiris, and they both look completely
I
different.
still feel really terrible for shutting down the department.
We all love you for that.
Thank you. It's an iterative process. As you go through shots, Well, when you start a project, it's more about time, is what it comes down to. Time management and having to deal with so many assets and facial systems. And I was talking yesterday about one of my first conversations with James Cameron, and we were discussing how many hero-level facial systems he's going to need in this film. And I said, give me a rough number. Oh, well, we have about 300-something characters and creatures, so yeah, we'll need about 300 of those facial rigs. And at this point, there were only 2 or 3 at hero level, leading digital actor creatures put on screen at that point. And so for him to say, oh, 300, so it's more of like a time management. Yeah. It's a lot of work. Yeah, a lot of work. But to answer your question though, when they had designed Neytiri, and when we started building the facial system with Neytiri, we would always do comparisons with reference with Zoe Sandala and Neytiri, and we would always be checking reference, always. Please, as you guys work, do your work based off of something, like nature's pretty complex, so study it. But anyhow, we were comparing and A-Bing Neytiri and Zoe Sandala, and then we noticed that we had to make design changes, just subtle, really, really small, design changes to make it look and feel like Zoe. And so, yeah, sorry about screwing up your shots.
No, that's fine. It's saying a lot about using reference, because she was a beautiful shapes that we couldn't get with the original, especially in animation. We couldn't get it, and I think a lot of that led to, well, maybe let's get closer to Zoe in the model, that we can do it.
Tell us about the, I guess, in the goal of getting to some of those shots, because a lot of subtlety was put in shots in Avatar, shots in King Kong. What the tools you started with, and then the layering of specialized tools. I know that's pretty common with homegrown tools in studios.
Right.
Is that common more now or less so? Are certain packages just always around that you run into? Or that's almost like a non-issue? You just have one starter package and then you learn, whatever you have to learn for that particular studio.
Yeah, a lot of it just comes down to just problem solving.
Yeah.
With every project, you're just trying to figure it out. Like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to build 300 hero-level facial systems? So you have to build specific tools per project. So, I'm not a programmer. I don't have a background in it, but I had to really learn how to mel script and script in Python, and it was all just in an effort to create better art. That was it. It was just a means to an end. Yeah.
So be open to scripting, guys, for those of you guys who are modelers.
Oh yeah.
There you go. How
Yeah,
about you?
I'd say almost 100% of the time, these tools come out of necessity of either that person working on it at the time, and most likely it's somebody like me or Jalil who aren't coders at all, who are animators, and we walk over and we're like, hey, dude, we don't know we can't do this. Can you fix this? And they're like, yes, sir, and they give us a cool button, and we're like, oh, this is awesome. And then it kind of builds from there till you have this toolkit of things that end up working on a character. But yeah, I mean, most of the big studios now have these kinds of toolkits, but it still surprises me when I go back to bigger studios that it's an ongoing, evolving kind of thing where you're just consistently adding, because you think visual effects, we've solved everything. We have not solved everything.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because while you're in school, I trust me, I know what it feels like to be a student, because I still feel like a student. But when you're a student here, you think, oh man, I have to learn all this stuff. You're going to learn so much more on your first job.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, be prepared, of course, while you're here. Learn as much as you can, but expect to be able to. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that yesterday. When you're in school, you're going to learn a way of doing things. You're going to learn many little things of how to get to the end result. When you start your new job, your first job, you have to throw all that away. It's not a waste, because it's going to be a shock when you get there and you realize, oh my God, things are done differently. It will take you about a year to reorganize everything you've learned before in different ways to make it work again. Like everything you've used in the order that you have, that you did it in school, you'll reshuffle all that stuff when you get started. But be okay with this. Be ready to go in and go fresh. I'm going to restart. I'm going to learn from everybody around me, because each studio has a different way of doing things. The basic principle of everything will be the same. It's about you being willing to just embrace it. If you go and you go, I'm going to do it my way, you're going to be out
Adapt.
fast.
I think it's the
Adapt.
biggest thing. Every project, right, Culley?
Of course.
Okay.
Well, I got a little signal here, believe it or not, where I guess they want to open the questions to the audience here. So before we continue, do we have any questions from you guys? Anything that, based on our conversation, that might have been prompted? Yes? You want to...
We can
Record
repeat
for
the
everyone.
question.
I think they want to
for the
record this.
camera.
Yeah.
Make sure you hold it close to your mouth.
Okay.
Hi,
After this person.
name's Jason Panetta. I'm in game art. Listening to you guys talking about the visual effects of movies that you've done. Visual effects of movies from the past, as we all know, was pretty prehistoric in a way. Take like Forbidden Planet was one such. Then you go on to epic movies like A Bridge Too Far, where they didn't actually have any form of overlays or any kind of computer graphics, which was all explosives and such that they used for their visuals and that. Then you go on to Independence Day, which used the combination of both model and CG graphics for visual effects. My question would be, what movies from the past have inspired you to create the visuals for movies that you've done now and for future?
Question?
Well, I can dive right in. I mean,
Do it. Go ahead.
Blade Runner. It brought me. I mean, it brought me to this school. I've recently. I got to tell the story. I recently had one of the best experiences I've had maybe in my career. I got to meet the model shop supervisor from Blade Runner, and got to sit down and look at original concepts from Sid Mead that aren't even in books that he had. And got to listen to him talk about him and Doug Trumbull setting up cameras for miniatures, and like it was such this rejuvenation. And that's practical effects. That has nothing. They were doing nothing in CG, but just that and their forethought, and back then the problem solving and how I still run into that, but now in a different kind of realm of CG, like just got me amped again. I was like, oh my God! And I was like a kid in a candy store, eating this stuff up from this guy Mark Stetson, who just kind of was just. Matter of fact, oh yeah, and on the back wall, yeah, we were working on a little movie, Aliens and Ghostbusters, and I'm like, oh my God, this is happening, and I still have that drive based off movies like that.
I think Blade Runner is absolutely my favorite movie of all time, but I hated it when I watched it the first time. I just didn't get it. To me, having the hero getting his, I don't know if I can say that word, ass. Can I say ass?
Yeah, you can say ass.
I said it. Getting his ass kicked all the time, to me was not, a hero. But then eventually, now every time I watch Blade Runner, I learn something new about it. I'm like, how did I miss this? But I never did. It's just it's awesome every time you watch it. I hate to say it, but I think for me, it was never. I think maybe Jurassic Park made me go, that's it. But a lot of cheesy movies from before that got me excited about it. I mean, Forbidden Planet was definitely one of them. I think like movies like Valley of the Kwangi. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's like Kwangi, I don't know. Kwanji, that's a movie that I saw when I was a kid, and I loved it because it was stop motion, dinosaur, and I love dinosaur and dragons. Movies like Masters of the Universe, sorry, but
Howard the Duck.
I'm still,
maybe not Howard the Duck.
That's
but
Jeff's. That's
I'm still a sucker for the old monster movies of guys in suits kicking the crap out of Tokyo and
yes,
models and stuff like that. And
because I think good movies, like I love Alien, but that never inspired me to go do it because it was so well done.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was fake. To me, it was like, it's a monster, it is.
I
But
don't want to go to space.
I will never be in space. I don't worry about it. But,
it was the Jaws for outer space.
yeah, it was really the bad visual effects that got me excited to go do it because I could tell that's fake and I want to go do that. But really, I think Jurassic Park is what made me go, okay, that's fake, but it looks real. And Starship Troopers, you know, that was another one that to me was like, what do you do this in daytime? Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I'm kind of almost the total opposite. Forrest Gump. They were just seamless of the seamless.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
amazing.
So
Yeah, Lieutenant Dane.
So
You knew it was fake
Unbelievable.
because obviously Kennedy is
There was
dead.
no CG in that.
But you're just like, he's there.
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
It's a little newer, but that was.
It still holds up.
Dude,
If you've seen that movie, it still holds
fantastic.
up. It's amazing.
And of course, Star Wars, you know,
Yeah.
just the usuals. But it was that movie that I was like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I still geek out like watching Back to the Future. You know, Back to the
Oh,
Future.
yeah.
That's that series. Ghostbusters. You know, yeah.
Mhm.
Fun.
That's awesome. Any other questions from the audience? I think we have a person up here.
Oh, fellas, hey, we actually have some online questions that we wanted to get to.
Okay.
And on behalf of I'm over here, back on your left. We have a, sorry. On behalf of all of our online students, by the way, thanks to you guys for this panel. It's been incredible, and the response has been fantastic. First question is from Gary Chacon. He's a computer animation major, and he's up early this morning. He's in LA. And he asks, as someone who wants to get into visual effects and compositing, I hear a lot of visual effects jobs are being outsourced now to places like India and Canada. Is this true?
Yes.
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 Yeah, yes.
Do you guys all have passports?
Listen, it's sorry.
No, go ahead.
I talk about that a lot because it's, you know, be ready to travel, guys. Today, the world, you know, you're out of school. It doesn't have to be the U.S. You know, I'm from an island off the coast of Madagascar. If I stayed there my whole life, I'd be fishing right now. That's all they have. So, really.
So you're saying you'd be living the dream on a tropical island, being served.
Yeah.
Jalil, what are you doing?
Fruit and fish.
How are you doing?
You're not helping. He's not helping.
Now I'm feeling bad already.
Grass is always greener.
So, you know, be ready to travel. You can go anywhere. You know, I've never been to India, but I hear it's awesome. Food is great.
You know what? In this line though, I see in the future there's going to be a disruption again. Not just moving overseas, but you'll be moving into your home office. There'll be a lot of remote working, and I think that's coming. The only problem is security. You can't work on a Marvel movie in your house because it's just not going to happen. But I think the mid-level
Eventually.
stuff, or the
I think it's
the lower to eventually possibly.
Yeah.
But you can still take a picture of your screen. So that's a problem.
It's funny. Somebody talked to me about this the other day. We were talking about this. There's an ironic thing happening in LA right now. So I've only been back here in Orlando about a week and a half. So many studios jumped ship, went to Vancouver, Toronto, London, Singapore, and so many artists left that the studios that are still in LA, which are quite a few, scrambled now to find good artists in town.
Yeah, after
So
the
there's this
rebates came back.
weird thing. If you're in town, you'll be hit up by all these studios saying like, "Dude, can we get you over? Can we get you? We can't find anybody. Can we get you over? Can we get you over?"
Yeah.
But I think for juniors though,
The industry tends to follow money. I mean, when people are giving you money, you go get it. So countries and entities are giving rebates, incentives, and all these things. So they go to these places, and the artists have to follow them. It's a never-ending cycle.
I mean, there's a lot of great studios out there, and all these studios are just looking for incredibly talented, skilled, and cool people, you know. So don't let that discourage you. Yeah, all the work is going this way and that way. Just come to school, create a demo reel that is completely undeniable, and don't be a jerk when you get a job. So
But
that's all.
you also, that's a lot of the big studios. A lot of smaller studios can't follow that, or they don't get that rebate money. So there's a lot of smaller studios that are still in the locations you may want to be in.
I think focus on,
Like me.
Jeff said that too. I mean, focus on yourself as the artist. Don't chase the job. The job will come to you, and this sounds cheesy,
Absolutely.
but it will. If you're really good,
Yep.
they will bend them backwards to come in and get you. So
Yep.
focus on who you are yourself as the artist. You know, if I wanted to go to Weta and that was my goal, I don't think I would have made it. Weta just happened to fall in my lap. I was like, oh, awesome, I'm gonna go.
Absolutely.
Because I focused on my craft. I made sure I can be the best artist possible and not be a jerk about it, and keep learning and always be willing to work with people that are around me. Your personality is going to be a big deal. There's always going to be work, guys. The industry is growing. It's not... The 2D guys used to say that, oh my God, it's dying. Today, we are 5-6 times bigger. There's more animators getting jobs. Of course, we've evolved. We moved into CG, but it's the same principles. Motion capture is not going to take over. We'll always want cartoons. I don't see us living in a world where there's no cartoons. It's going to move to TV maybe, but the level of TV is rising. Look at Game of Thrones. These dragons look better than a lot of film dragons,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I keep on hoping that, just one day I'm just gonna plant my flag right here in Florida, and Hollywood's gonna come here. And then I'm like, I can give up on I have to go to Hollywood, I have to go to LA. That's done. I mean, when I was here in the 90s, I was like, I gotta go to LA, gotta go to LA. I'm like, I got a family, 2 kids, a house, the whole thing. We set up shop, So you're right. I think that's great advice.
Well, clearly it's a transition. I mean, look at the two of us. I mean, we spent our careers in LA, New Zealand, whatnot, and now we're in Orlando, both of us, doing still high quality level stuff. I mean, it just shows that planning yourself might not be the end goal. Be prepared to do this move, like all of us have done for the most part. Maybe not. Culley's been lucky.
When I got out of school, I moved 21 times.
There you go. Culley was not lucky.
In 3 years. I was a professional couch surfer.
But if you like fishing, I've got a good place for you.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, one more from online I wanted to pass along to you. This is a really good one. This is from Cheryl Morey. She's a computer animation major from Buffalo, New York, where it is very cold. And she asks, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give your student self?
Invest in Google.
Oh.
Right? My God, that's the best answer.
I would. So I've been lucky enough to be able to kind of begin doing more directing and producing work and cinematography work, kind of beginning in 2010, and I've had to get crash courses in learning story. So I personally would have loved to have started really learning story structure, character development, all that good stuff. Because I think even in visual effects and design, if you always have story in mind, I think you could just generally make better choices, even with a run cycle, right? Like you could tell a story just with a run cycle. So yeah, that's my take. I would, it's just this constant learning process of becoming a better storyteller, and I think even that would apply in visual effects and whatnot.
I think, I agree. I think it's a very difficult question because there is no one thing, right? You're learning as you go, and I think I've learned so much from all my mistakes that I would be terrified to go tell myself not to go through these mistakes because I think that's what, if I didn't go through it, maybe that would not have helped me to get better. I would probably just go to myself and be like, go for it, buddy, and you'll see. I probably won't give an advice because I know how much crap I'm gonna go through. But I think working hard and never giving up is maybe the thing I would tell myself. Just don't give up because there will be ups and downs. There'll be a lot of downs, lots of lows, and you just have to be ready to just pick it up because animation or any of the stuff that we do at that level is you every time you get something new in front of you. I was saying that, right? You feel like you're gonna get caught. You feel like somebody's gonna figure you out. You guys right now go, every time you get something, you go, oh man, I wish I was these guys on the panel. They probably just get this and do it. No. Every stuff that we get, every shot that I get on every movie, even the last movie I worked on, was terrifying. I've been doing this for 10, 12 years, and I'm still terrified because it's always a new challenge. And maybe preparing me for that would have been good, but it's terrifying, the whole way through.
I mean, you brought up a bunch of good stuff. It's like I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, why would I change something because I'm here now? Why would I do that? I think what I would have done sooner is take more risks. I think maybe we all can attest to that. I think even when I graduated school, I was still like, I need to stay in Orlando. I need to stay here and try to work this out. I think for me, I didn't make the leap till 3 years later to go to LA. I think I would have told myself if I could go back and be like, go, dude, go. And maybe now would be go to Vancouver or go somewhere. I'm like, chase that dream sooner, I think I would have done, instead of being just scared. I was too scared. I'd say maybe try to get over that is what I would tell myself at
Fear
this
is a
point.
big thing,
Fear's a big
yeah.
thing. Like, get over that. Because you're young. Use it to your advantage while you can.
Yeah, I went out there with $300, so and a couch. So
I had
anyway,
a little more than that, but not much.
I'm more of a technical person, and looking back on it and what I do right now, I really wish I would have done just random video recording or photography. I still have not done it, and I keep telling myself I need to buy a camera, go out and shoot, because that's just a background I don't have, and what I do is a highly needed thing, so I keep skipping it. But I think if I would have done that along with story, I think I could have been a better artist than I am now.
You're a pretty good artist, Culley.
There are a couple of questions in the audience, I think, that he had his hand up.
Yeah, so just go shoot things, whatever you want.
Hi. So I was wondering if all of you have obviously worked on a lot of really hard and a lot of really intense things, but for maybe each one of you, could you share what one of the hardest things you've worked on with CG or VFX, one of the hardest things that really made you like sort of hair pulling, but at the end was like, oh, that's beautiful. That sort of thing.
Everything that I'm working on right now. and I'm not being cheeky about it. Like, I'm equally excited and horrified by the things that I'm working on. And that actually is kind of my criteria for taking on a project. I have to, in equal measure, I have to be excited and absolutely horrified. And those are the things that I want to work on.
I don't know. Trying to think. For me, I think every movie has a challenge, of course. I think the most hair-pulling project I've ever worked on was Rise of the Guardians, and that was already laughing. That was Jack Frost. On that movie, Jack Frost was really, guys. I mean, that movie didn't turn out to be very good, even though it was decent.
enjoyed it.
Did you like it? It was a good movie.
My mother-in-law loves
My
it.
kids love it.
Yeah.
My mom loves everything I make, so she loved it. But I think Jack Frost was terrifying of a character because he was. It was difficult to keep him on model, and I know it's a CG model, so you guys think when the model is done, it's done. But when the camera is rotating around a CG model, it tends to completely morph and looks different. And this is when, as animators, you have to pay attention to that and make sure that he is still appealing throughout. But I think that was a mistake that we did as animators, and that was the direction that we went into, was making Jack so realistic. We cornered ourselves because we did the first sequence, and the producers loved it. But the problem is the first sequence was almost motion capture, and it was all key-framed. All of a sudden, we set the bar for ourselves for failure because we couldn't get the whole team to get to that level in that amount of time. Everybody can get to that level, absolutely. It's just, can they all do it every shot, every week to be at that level? So halfway through the project, we were getting notes to get to that quality, and we were so tired after half a year of working on the same project that it was very stressful, I went through a hard time to the point where I was willing to quit DreamWorks.
I always use this example. On Apocalypto, Mel Gibson had his own VFX Soup, and then a studio has their own VFX Soup. So you typically have two. And the only
this is gonna be good.
Now know what, I'm a huge Mel Gibson fan. Braveheart was amazing. And I was so stoked to get this because there's only one CG character in that entire movie. And it's a guy as he jumps off the waterfall. So there's already this pressure with Mel, who didn't want to use any CG. And but we have to have it because this guy can't jump off this Brazilian waterfall, this Mexican waterfall in the Amazon. So I get doing revisions, and it cuts from the live action actor to the CG digital double. And I start doing version. And then I do versions, and then I do versions. So I get up to version 27, and I'm like, this is it. And I've nailed it. And we go up, and Mel's guys, his older guys, like, no, we're not there yet. Cut to about version 42. I'm literally at my breaking point, and my VFX soup at the studio is at his breaking point because he knows as well. And I'm still looking at him. I'm like, well, I'm using version 27 for my reel. I mean, they put whatever they want in the movie. I mean, this is the version that I'm like, that I just know. I'm like, this matches up because it cut to that one, and I had to do one other one after that. And sure enough, for some reason, at like 42, 43, he looks over. He's like, yeah, let's go back. Sure enough, he goes back to 27. But I've done 43 versions, and
Yeah, it comes more client management.
at that point, and I think that's it. I think for things that I've had bad experiences on, or where you get to that, where it feels like they're spinning your wheels for some, it's one thing when they don't know what they want, but it's another thing when you feel like they've hit a point of just like, I can't give you anything different,
It's not the shot that breaks you; it's the client.
Yeah, to some extent.
And having your own company, I gotta believe that it's got a unique set of challenges on that front.
There's many, many, many shots. I can't even think of them that have broken me. But it's mostly the clients that just, when they ask you, can you make this more ironic? I'm like, like my life? What are you talking about? Ironic? I've been up for 48 hours. It is ironic. Get out of here. Seriously, somebody that was a note. Can you make it more ironic?
I think we've all gotten notes.
I had a breakdown that night. That was insane.
Wow.
But
Wow.
What's Tim Naylor's? Was it make it lighter, darker?
I can't
Was
say.
that- what did he say?
I'm a professional. I can't tell you who or what.
Yeah, exactly.
Later.
I will later.
Catch us in the hall.
One of his recent project that was challenging but was fun, and I knew I was going to nail it eventually, but time kind of ran into it, and there was a few things that I didn't get done. I just did this little social media piece for Delta. It's the they shot a bunch of the same girl in these different outfits through the years of the stewardesses, and she's walking on this treadmill that's turning, and I morphed each one throughout it, and it's about 8 seconds long, and I was really proud of that when it was done. But it's not perfect because I ran out of time.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And you can go to I think you can go to Facebook and Delta, you'll find it in their video section.
There you go.
I had a question that just came up because I know we've been focusing on film and animation. How are we doing on the interactive front? And obviously you're doing more interactive stuff. This concept of invisible effects or the ones that you don't notice. Where are we at with that? I mean, there's times when games seems to make astronomical leaps in hitting some of those benchmarks that we talked about that we don't notice, and then other times it's kind of like, yeah, it's games, And are we getting closer? And what are the examples? Are we still, because it's such a high benchmark when we go to the movies, and I'd like to think that we're getting closer, but the reality on the ground may be different,
Yeah, I mean, I can't go too much into detail, but that's why EA hired me right now, along with a couple other people. I feel like studios, for game studios at least, are starting to make a transition or trying to make this transition of, okay, now we finally have these machines that can do some of this stuff, real-time stuff that potentially could put us in the realm of realism. But then they understand too, we've never been on that side of things. Like, how do the VFX studios make this happen? So I'm in the process of starting at a studio with still my mindset of VFX and photorealism, but coming into a studio where I'm still looking at game assets going, okay, you want to do what with the, okay. So it's right now my mind is constantly blown of working with tech they have and trying to take it to this next level, but I think it's going to get there, and it's kind of exciting right now.
That's a little scary as well.
Oh no, it absolutely is, because it's this underlying pressure of they would show us examples of movies, and they'd be like, well, we want it to look like this, and it's me and another person, Claire Williams, who's a facial animator from Weta. She's amazing.
She was on Caesar, and she did some amazing work.
Yes, incredible stuff, and they looked at both of us, and they're like, huh? You guys can do this, right? Huh? And I mean, sometimes in the meetings, it's literally like that. And we look at them and we're like, really, guys? And then they just kind of walk away from us, and we're like, well, it's more than that. And I think that's when you realize, like for me, it's realizing all the other facets that go into, and now we're just animators, But we also are looking at it from like, oh my God, all these other facets come in. We need modelers like Jeff. Like our model has to be on a level that's beyond belief to get the face to look real. And then it comes down to shading. Can your engine handle this? And I think it's an exciting time with that because the studios are finally seeing, well, let's spend some money. Yeah, let's spend some money on this and see what we can get out of that.
I think we're in the same spot. I mean, I just finished, not just finished, but a little while ago finished Rise of the Tomb Raider. And my job was basically to just get the facial of Lara Croft to get to the level of what Neytiri was. And the problem is, you just nailed it, is, they think just the animator bringing on board will do that. They forget about all the other guys that we need to actually get the animator to do it. We need the modelers to be there. The rigging needs to be stellar. And I was trying to get Lara to look like, the actress and make these facial shapes. We couldn't. But luckily, the studios are seeing this. They want movie quality stuff. And so they are starting to improve their rigs. They're starting to take notes. And games are absolutely going to get there. And I'm not talking about 10 years. I'm talking about 2 years. We're going to start seeing... I see games as it used to be one line, the type of games, in the 70s, 80s. But it's branched out now. We've got mobile games where no one cares about graphics. It's about, entertainment for 2 seconds or for 10 seconds. Open it, play it real quick.
However long my bathroom break is, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Bathroom breaks, games, right? This is amazing industry. We can't go, it's all about graphics. But then we have the mid-range indie games that are just doing it for nostalgia. I'm going to redo Zelda. I'm going to redo this and this and this. And then you've got the AAA games that are really about the visual and, making you feel like you're part of this, The Witcher and all that stuff, successful. I think it's a golden age right now of entertainment. I think, TVs are trying to catch up to movies. And my God, guys, TV shows used to be MacGyver and the A-Team.
Yeah.
They used to be cheesy. No one believed in these. No one wanted to do TV. Now you have Kevin Spacey doing TV. We're in an amazing time right now.
Also,
you guys are lucky.
Yeah, and
The writing has never been better on television.
Writing.
In some ways, it's been better than film.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Consistently.
It's a new golden age of TV.
Not Jeff's film. Jeff's film.
I was gonna mention VR.
Right.
VR is a whole other industry that's being developed right now, and if I were you guys, I'd probably look into it and see what people are doing in that space. It might not be photoreal, but it's a whole new experience.
There's a hole that needs to be filled in that right now. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like you were saying,
I think there's a lot of work. I wouldn't worry about, oh no, the whole industry's drying up, man. You guys have everything you can possibly need right in front of you at this school to do something really great. You just have to challenge yourself, and you will find work. And you might not nail it right out of the park, right out of school. You might not get 2 or 3 or 4 job offers before you graduate. But this is a process. If we're all artists here, we started this school because we love doing art. So I don't look at it so much as a sprint, and I get the need to oh, holy shit, I got student loans, I got to get a job. But this is a life journey. Your time here at Full Sail is going to be a sliver of your life. I just hope for you guys that you keep doing art, keep creating, and keep pushing yourself. Yeah,
it's
I'll stop
evolving
now.
and
Jeff
never
is-
forget the reference.
Yeah.
What's that?
Never forget the reference.
Yeah, and don't forget your.
No, Jeff hit the nail on the head. I think it's the evolving aspect.
Yeah.
I started with one thing, and now I'm doing something. I started in video games in 2003, and I'm like, well, I'll probably never go back to that.
Yeah.
Now it's literally, 14 years later, whatever, it's come full circle.
Yeah.
And I'm finding oh my God, they're diving into this, and I'm back into it, and it's like this new excitement that's there again, and that'll be your whole career. Down to the end, we're all old and gray, still talking to kids when they invite us back, hopefully.
Yeah.
I remember when we were up here talking about video games. And
Yeah, totally.
It's really
I got
about-
lasers in my eyes.
it's really the achievable dream. You can dream about working at Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks, but don't make it that's absolutely where you need to go, because you are set for disappointment. Just grab whatever you can, focus, like I said earlier, focus on your craft, because these jobs will find you. It's evolving, it's changing, that Pixar might not be here when you're ready to join Pixar, because then they're making a park that is just a Toy Story park where all the characters are animated by animators, but they are right in front of you. Would you want to have that job where your family can go and you've animated all these characters are walking around on the streets? This could be the future. We don't know what holds for us. Just focus on being good. If you keep dreaming about Pixar, you're set for disappointment.
And just when you say focus on being good, I always try to tell my students, whatever class you're in, you're that thing for the month. I think sometimes I still get a sense that a lot of students want to just be, I just want to be a modeler, or I just want to be this. It's like the game, to me, is so much bigger than that you need to start thinking of yourself as an artist with a capital A when it comes to linking these skill sets. Because as you said, so many things go into what makes something look good.
Yeah.
It's not just a model. It's everything. And if you have to do scripting as a modeler to get the job done, well, guess what, guys?
Well, I would say right now, I think back when I was, I was a lab instructor here for a little bit too, and I remember Jeff, and I'm thinking now, I'm like, Jeff, would you have thought back then, because Jeff was an insane modeler as a student, would you have thought back then you would have been doing scripting or rigging or anything involving those two? And you left.
No. All of that stuff just, you just pick up on the job, and the task at hand is always going to change, and you just have to be able to. I think it just comes down to challenging yourself, doing a project that you don't believe you can do, and pushing yourself. And then through that, you might not achieve what you set out to do, but I would bet that you're going to learn a lot, through that process. And what you learn is really it's all about these little successes, right? It's all these little successes. And those build up to you being confident enough to be able to solve any problem that gets put in front of you, so.
When you can turn down ILM, that's when you know you've succeeded. I turned out Pixar, so I own him on that one.
I want to just touch something Jalil said really fast that I think is so amazing was if you're setting yourself up and Pixar is your only goal in life, you've lost. I think that's huge. I think it's nice to have those goals, and I remember even as a student, I had goals of studios I wanted to work for. Actually, Weta was one. And ironically, when my opportunity came for Weta, it was also the same time my DreamWorks opportunity came. And I had to pick and choose, and it was to either go into Avatar, or it was to go over it and do this kind of long-term thing with DreamWorks, and I decided this way. And whether or not it was the right choice, it was kind of irrelevant because I left the door open. And Weta was a goal. That was when I left school. Man, I got to work for Weta someday. But you kind of realize over time, other things become more important, and just having opportunities to keep working become more important. Because the studios, they'll come to you eventually. Those opportunities will just be on your plate eventually. And then eventually you have enough friends who are just calling you like, hey man, can you come and work over here? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I'm working at ILM. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
It might have been a goal, but it just kind of happens.
Personality
Yes.
is important.
Yes.
Make sure you go in with good attitude, because like what Jack just said, it's a small industry. If you go in and you're ready and you just go put your ego aside, just go, I'm gonna learn, you're gonna build a good career, because when you're done there, you can call a friend. A friend will call you to go somewhere else, but if you don't have friends, it's so small that if you make enemies, you're not gonna get in at too many studios.
Yeah, I got my first film job at Tippett Studio, and it was from a guy that I took classes with here at Full Sail. He was working as a match mover on Hellboy and Starship Troopers 2 and these films, and a modeling job opened up, and he thought of me, and I sent my work to him. He put it right in front of an art director, and that's how I got my job. Was one of my classmates. So be really good to the people around you.
Yeah, I would say your rep too is important. Obviously they
Oh,
thought well
man,
of your
yeah.
work,
It's everything.
so your rep starts
Everything.
now. Guys, I hate to say it, but time has flown by. I mean, I'm blown away how much we've learned in the last, looks like hour and 15 minutes.
I would say it went seamlessly.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for attending today's session. Let's give Culley, Jack, Jalil, and Jeff an amazing hand. Yeah.